the new top 5 best Town Hall 12 attacks to use after the update. In the number 5 spot, we have the Yeti BoBat. This is a really strong attack, and thanks to the new Flame Flinger, you can now use this on island bases. The reason for this is the island bases are really weak to something that can snipe off buildings, and Flame Flinger is just that, being able to remove other buildings that are very close to certain buildings it targets can also really help a lot. Its ability to control is by far one of the best things. So you can practically use a Flame Flinger on one side and a Grand Warden Walk on the other side. You pretty much create very easy pathing to move yourself into the Town Hall and then some. So in this case, sniping off the Inferno, whether it was multi or single doesn't matter, and then also using a Grand Warden Walk to remove the Expo. That way you can then control your Grand Warden Walk by moving in with the Yetis, the Witches, the Bowlers, etc. as they move in to deal with the splash buildings, the enemy CC, and the Town Hall. Like I've said before, using this attack against bases where you can get a good amount of splash should be your main goal. So you want to make sure that you are able to push your troops into the base, dealing with anything that comes your way by using Enrage and then a Grand Warden ability. You want to use that so you can protect your Yetis, your Witches, your Bowlers as they get through the Town Hall, and then some. Overall, you really want to get rid of the Wizard Towers if there are a lot of single target Infernos, and you want to make sure that you are still prioritizing the Eagle Artillery, even if it's with the Bat spells. So that means that you then want to start using your Bat spells. Pretty much you're going to be using them in order to kind of move yourself across the base. In this case, taking advantage of the single target Inferno, freezing that up for the Queen, and still removing the Eagle Artillery with that Queen. Then just using the freeze spells against splash buildings like the Wizard Towers will allow you to get through with no problem. And you can even have Hog Riders in that Flame Flinger if you do want to have a little bit of extra coverage, but I mean, this attack can be absolutely overkill now on island bases with the brand new Siege Machine. But this is one of the attacks that has absolutely changed dealing with island bases to where now it is almost a piece of cake. In the number 4 spot, we have the Zap Witches, and not really much has changed about the Zap Witches. Overall, the same basic rules apply when you're using this. You're going to be using 4 Lightning and 1 Earthquake to remove an Inferno compartment. Doesn't matter if they're set to single or if they're set to multi, you just want to remove them for pathing purposes. In this case, this is a fairly common base that you may see, and overall, it's just allowing you to control your Log Launcher, Witches, Ice Golems, Heroes into the base towards the Town Hall. The Eagle and Town Hall are your 2 main threats outside of the Infernos. Overall, you should be using the Ice Golems to kind of make sure you have a wall of a tank in front of your Witches. Now in this case, unfortunately, the Log Launcher pops, which thus makes it a little bit more tricky, because now there is nothing that breaks him open in. Using a Grand Warden ability does help protect a lot of the troops, though usually you would want to use it to protect the Log Launcher for as much as possible. So you will sometimes need to require yourself to break through walls in order to get to the Town Hall. It's a really simple attack as long as you're able to move yourself through and you're able to get to something like the Town Hall with your Queen or Witches. It can help you a lot. The Ice Golems can provide a lot of work in the core, so it doesn't mean that they're entirely useless. And overall, you can still have a lot of Witches and Skeletons moving through the base like it's nothing, which is why this works really well against single Infernos. You should never be afraid to use this not against single target Infernos. If you're saying multi-Infernos, this works incredibly well too. You just have to think about that. But single Infernos, this is a really good army, and it works on a lot of different type of bases, both anti-3s and very common styles of base like this one here, which you can easily earn yourself a 3-star without having to do too much. This is the easiest on the list, and thus you should be using it. In the number 3 spot, we have the Zap Super Dragons, using the brand new Super Dragons Super Troop. The idea is very similar to the Zap Dragons. Overall, you're using the lightning spells against air defenses. Now, the attacker here takes a little bit of a different approach, using the lightning spells not just on the air defense, but also on the single target Inferno, and then an Earthquake spell. This can work periodically, though it is not really recommended with the dragon attack, mainly because it is a waste of lightning spells when you could easily zap out the air defenses. That's just me in my opinion. But this can help in terms of something like an Electro Dragon stay up for longer, creating more of a funnel, which provides more support. You're going to be using your heroes on another side to help create the other side of the funnel, so then you could send in the bulk of your Super Dragons towards the Town Hall. This is why you can sometimes bring a Stone Slammer as an example to make it easier to move in. You really want to make sure that you're looking for bases that have fairly close together buildings to where they can actually be hit by the splash damage of the Super Dragons. And in this case, being able to splash onto other buildings helps a lot. Using an early Grand Warden ability to get through the Town Hall is another big thing, and you want to try and make sure that you're able to continue to move yourself through. In hindsight, I would also recommend sometimes possibly bringing in a Dragon Rider instead of just balloons, because that will also help your attack a lot. In this case, he still has 4 of the Super Dragons up, then he goes down to 3, and this final air defense that remains up is a huge nuisance, which is why I would always recommend using your 6 lightning spells and 2 earthquakes against air defenses. It's going to help you a lot, and you will be able to get a much cleaner 3-star. And overall, it can still work really, really well. You just have to be really careful of air defense placement and also how you use your lightning spells. But it can work incredibly well, very consistently, and can offer you 3 stars a lot of the time. So if you want to use 5 Super Dragons, that might be the way to do so. In the number 2 spot, we have the Super Witch Smash. Overall, you want to start with a Queen Walk or a Grand Warden Walk. Typically, a Warden Walk is recommended, but a Queen Walk can be used with the Grand Warden moving across. This is really good if you have a lower level Grand Warden, not high enough to do a Warden Walk just yet at Town Hall 12. But overall, you're using this for funneling purposes. The main reason here on this base is the Queen is able to reach everything around here, which means that you can cut off one side of the funnel really easily with just a Queen Walk, which means you can create the other side of the funnel with something like the Siege Barrack, King, and Witches to move yourself in. This is a really good choice, and you don't always need super wall breakers. You can always bring in the use of regular wall breakers. So outside of just bringing the Super Witch, you don't really need to bring any other super troops, and you should be able to easily start moving yourself across. The main goal, though, you want to make sure that you have enough momentum to drive through. That's why you're going to be using a rage spell once you get into the buildings that are really going to hurt you the most. You usually want to make sure that you're using a Grand Warden ability right about now in order to protect everything as they work in, but you've got a heal spell that you can use to protect the Super Witches and still allow them to move across. Though, unfortunately, in this case, the Grand Warden decides to go off on his own and not protect the Super Witches, which can sometimes be okay, but also not really okay. So you do want to make sure that you are still providing as much support as possible, and if you use the Grand Warden ability on something that will help you in the long haul, then that might just work. But you just want to make sure that you're still moving yourself through. You can bring heal spells to help support your Hog Riders from the Siege Barrack or from the Flame Flinger. So you've got a lot of options, but overall this can work very, very well. You just have to be really, really careful with the Warden AI and making sure that you use that Grand Warden ability a little earlier rather than later, so everything can stay up for a little bit longer so you can get those triples. And in the number 1 spot, we have the Queen Charge Hybrid, arguably the strongest attack strategy in Clash of Clans and also at Town Hall 12. You want to start by funneling. The main goal of your Queen Charge should be to remove value, but creating pathing. So in this case, being able to remove an area of the base like this does offer you a lot of really good support. Now, this is a variation of an island base, so you can bring in the use of the Flame Flinger as well. But for the most part, you want to make sure that you're creating one side of the funnel with something like maybe a super minion or a baby dragon, and doing the same thing on the other side. Maybe something like the king can be used as well. But you can also push yourself in with the use of your archer queen. Now, in terms of this, you should be trying to keep your queen alive with a rage spell. This will help you a lot, and I would also highly recommend using the free spells to protect your queen from stuff like the single target infernos. Not only that though, but I would try to bring in some balloons to make sure that you're looking for any seeking air mines, unless you know that the defender's not going to have any. So you do need to be very, very careful of that. If you're dealing with something like triple super minions and you're a little caught off guard, you might want to just use your queen ability so you do not lose your queen to the super minions. In terms of this, you should create the other side of the funnel with the king and, of course, the siege barrack or flame flinger, and then send your hybrid in. You want to make sure that you've got easy pathing to move in with them, so that is why you create one side of the funnel with the queen and the other with the siege barrack. So that way you can start moving yourself in very easily to the town hall. Using an early Grand Warden ability and heal to move yourself through does help. In terms of this, if you're seeing a lot of multi-infernos, chances are you should be able to get through it because you'll have a lot of heal spells as well. And if you want to bring freeze, you can do so as well to use those for the hybrid. But they can easily, swiftly get it done with no problem whatsoever. The rest of the base is practically cleanup. This is why it is such a strong attack, and it is considered the strongest in the game right now. So if there was one army that you should be using, it will definitely be the Queen Charge hybrid. Of course, tied for this is the Queen Charge Lalo, but this is a lot easier to master than it. And of course, you are guaranteed triples as long as you know exactly what you're doing. If you have made this far in the video, consider checking out my previous video, all on the Super Dragons with one replay using the Flame Flinger. And of course, making it this far means that you did help support the channel by making sure that it can be recommended to more people. But if you do want to see more content just like this or any other types of future content that I have planned, consider subscribing and ringing the bell. It would be greatly appreciated. Use my creator code CORRUPT, and I'll be catching you in the next video. Corrupt, signing out.